Hitting the gym won't fix your heartbreak. If you have been anywhere near Reddit, YouTube, or pretty much any comment section where there are any group of men who are talking about breakups, there's one piece of advice that gets thrown around quite a bit. Just hit the gym. And I get why it sounds right. And I have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours reading those threads, watching men try to give each other support, and interviewing dozens and dozens of people who are actually in the midst of heartbreak, going through it. So I've seen how often this line gets thrown around, almost like it's a cure for everything. And it is well-meaning, but it's also one of the most misunderstood pieces of advice out there. And today I want to walk you through the things that might actually be going on underneath it, because the gym and moving your body can definitely help, but it won't fix the part of you that's actually hurting. So there's this moment that happens to many people after a breakup. They get this idea that they want to get back into the gym, that they want to get fit, and they go in and have a super, super hard workout. They are sweating hard, their lungs are burning, and maybe for 10 minutes, everything feels better, everything feels quiet, and then they walk back to the car, get in, close the door, head home, and inevitably, everything comes back at once. All of those thoughts come rushing back at once, and sometimes even stronger than before. So the first thing I want to share with you is that the gym will definitely help your body chemistry, but it's not going to help with the grief. So exercise does what it's supposed to do. It floods your system with endorphins, with dopamine, and all of the things that make you feel healthy, make you feel lifted, make you feel fired up in the moment. And that part is real. And I don't want to pretend that it isn't, but the problem that shows up is when you start relying on the gym, when you start relying on that boost of chemicals as your main coping mechanism for getting through the breakup. Because if you're doing this, then you're not actually addressing the experience that's sitting underneath the adrenaline, that's sitting underneath all of these chemicals that the gym and your workouts are bringing up inside of you that feels so good. You're just giving your system a little break from feeling it. And it's like, one of my favorite metaphors for this is it's like taking the batteries out of a smoke alarm. You get silence, but the fire is still raging, the fire is still there. And so if this is resonating with you, if this is feeling like things that you are doing, if this is feeling like why you are using the gym in the first place, then I invite you to work deeper with me. This is some work that I love doing. So if you are feeling like this is resonating with you, I invite you to take a look below this video in the description. There are a few links there for you to check out so that we can work together deeper on this. And the second thing I want to bring up is that this idea of getting a revenge body after a breakup is just a kind of subtle way to keep your ex trapped in the gym with you. And so this is something else that I see a lot, right? It's a thought that can sometimes sneak in without really meaning to, without warning, and it's this idea that if I can just look better, then my ex will regret leaving me. And it's not something that you're trying to say out loud, but when you check in truthfully, right? When you catch yourself looking at yourself in the mirror, right? There is this tiny part of you that starts to imagine what your ex is going to think if they see you looking fit, looking strong, looking healthy. And there's so many men, there's so many comments that I see that are along the lines of, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life so that my ex regrets leaving me. And of course, I understand the impulse to want to get in the best shape of your life so that your ex regrets ending the relationship. Truly, it gives you a goal, it gives you something to reach for, especially when your life feels so chaotic right now. But if you look at it a little bit more closely, you will see that you're not actually moving on. You're not actually getting over your ex. You've just changed the location of the rumination from your house or your bedroom into the gym. And so in a way, this workout, these workouts that you're doing, this pushing yourself so hard is just another clever, subtle argument with your ex. And it's a performance for someone who isn't even there, right? And so it can feel super productive. It can feel like you are moving on. It can feel like you are getting healthy, but ultimately, emotionally, you're still stuck. And the third thing I want to talk about is that extremely hard training can numb you, not heal you. And so oftentimes after a breakup, your system is so extremely overwhelmed. There is so many things, so many sensations coming at you that you're not used to, that anything intense that's not that's not the pain of the breakup, anything else that feels super intense feels like a relief. So lifting heavy, sprinting, really pushing yourself to the edge, it's a quick way to not feel that grief just for a little bit. But numbing isn't actually processing. It's not actually doing the work that you need to do to move through the breakup. And so if you are always sprinting away from these feelings that the breakup is stirring up, you miss the one thing that would actually allow you to move forward. And that is slowing down. Slowing down enough to start to understand what is happening in your body and what your body is actually reacting to because of the breakup. And so, of course, you can get incredibly fit, you can become incredibly disciplined, you can get so strong and start hitting all amazing PRs and making massive leaps in your strength. And you can still feel fragile the moment you stop moving. And this can ultimately happen because you are using the gym as an escape hatch, as a distraction. Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about is that the gym can reinforce the wrong story about why the relationship actually ended. Now, this one is subtle. If your ex left, especially for someone else, the gym can quickly become a place where you fight the belief that you weren't enough. You start trying to fix a body, your body, that was never actually the problem. And my guess is that the relationship probably didn't end because you were missing 5 pounds of muscle, right? It ended because relationships are complicated. They are complex. They require lots of communication. There are mismatches in that communication. There are mismatches in your needs. There are mismatches in their needs. There are all kinds of emotional patterns at play and all kinds of different attachment histories that are coming together and trying to form partnership. And so again, this is messy, right? These are complicated. These are nuanced. And so the gym can easily turn this breakup pain that you're feeling into self-blame, and we start to disguise it as improvement. And that's ultimately just not fair to you. And the fifth and final thing that I want to talk about is that movement helps, but avoiding the inner work is what is keeping you stuck. And so again, I want to be clear. I love exercise. I love moving the body. I recommend it to pretty much everyone that I work with. But movement itself is not the work. It is support for the work, right? It's the support team that can come along for the ride and really support you as you are doing the deep, hard, sometimes hard inner work. So if you are hitting the gym, if you are starting to lift weights, if you are starting to run or do all kinds of cardio in order to avoid the breakup and what it stirred up inside of you, all of that stuff that you're trying to avoid, the grief, the sadness, the pain, it just waits for you. And if you wait long enough, this is the mistake I see a lot of people make when they're trying to get over a breakup, is that they assume that time will heal all of their wounds. And so what they do is they just try and wait it out. And what happens, all of this grief, all of this sadness, all of this pain, instead of actually healing, what it does is it just sinks back into your subconscious, where it will inevitably show up again. It will show up in parts of your life, in new relationships, and you will, what I see people say is like, oh, that's just the way that I am. Right? But ultimately what it is these things that are getting stirred up, and instead of looking at them, instead of working with them, instead of healing them, we ignore them and let them just sink into the subconscious where they start running our lives without us even really knowing it. And ultimately, we want the gym and movement to become a tool for us to move through this pain and whatever the breakup is stirring up with us. And we don't want the gym to be a hiding place for us to avoid these things. So again, this is the work that I absolutely love to do. I love working with people that are trying to move on through a breakup in the healthiest, most efficient way possible for them by getting out of their head and starting to understand what the breakup is actually stirring up within them, so that they can move through it, so they can stop avoiding it and actually move on from their ex. So if this is something that intrigues you and it's something that you want to do and you find yourself in a breakup and wanting to move on from it and you're tired of looping thoughts and actually are ready to do the work, then again, I invite you to take a look in the description below, find the links on how we can work together deeper on this. And the last thing that I want to share with you before we go, and this is something super important that I want you to understand. You can go and work out. You can go and get super fit. You can eat better, and you can rebuild all of your routines and be super disciplined and start getting healthy and doing the work. But if you don't shift the mindset that is underneath all of it, the way that you interpret heartbreak, the way that you interpret loss, pressure, your identity, all of this, right? The gym will not help you move forward, not in the way that you want, ultimately. So if you want to take the next step, the video that I recommend, I'll put it on the screen I'll link to it right below here. It's called Mindset Shifts That Changed My Breakup Journey Forever. I highly recommend you take a look at it. It's the piece that makes everything that I talked about today in today's video actually start to stick. So thank you so much for your time and presence. I know this is a tender time right now, but you can and will get through it. Wishing you all the best. Peace.